Welcome to Nurturing with Grit and Grace. Hi, I'm Deb Kelsey-Davis, and I'm an affiliate of Mayslake Ministries in Downers Grove, Illinois. I'm a caregiver. I am so proud to be a caregiver because it's one of the greatest joys I've had in my life, and it's a privilege, it's an honor to care for another person. At the same time, it's probably one of the most emotionally, physically, and spiritually draining of all the experiences I've ever had in my life. Today we're going to talk about something that took me a long time to learn, and I'll be honest with you, I still have to brush up on my skills. It's okay to say no. Believe it or not, it is okay to say no, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. What has pulled me through my caregiving days, which I'm still caregiving for both of my parents, is my faith. Not only just to survive, but to thrive. And I sincerely mean that. And it starts with understanding those times when it's okay to say no. So I invite you to join me and join the rest of us here as we journey through and navigate this role that we call caregiving. Did you know that no is a sentence? I didn't. Maybe I did, but I never practiced it very well. So, are you a yes person then? I was. I still am. Although I've learned through caring for my mother-in-law that I had to get to a point or break down physically and emotionally if I continued to say yes to everything that came my way. Some of us are fix-it people. We're going to solve everything. I was brought up that my grandmother showed her love for her family by doing things, by fixing every problem that came across the family's path. So maybe I picked up some of that. Honestly, maybe you have too. So think for a minute. Are you a yes? Are you a fixer? Are you a solver? Or are you blessed with the gift to say no, more than I certainly have been in my life? No is a sentence, and it's part of setting boundaries, healthy boundaries, because let's face it, there's 24 hours in a day. We have so much to accomplish in that period of time that it's really up to us to manage it in a way that honors ourselves and honors our loved one that we're caring for. What holds you back from setting those boundaries? For me, it was fear. Honestly, fear that I would somehow be looked upon as bad or mean, right? That's just a part of maybe even culture as we're growing up. And so I had to overcome that. And the reason that it became so important to overcome that is because honestly, by not setting boundaries, as I was caring for my mother-in-law, I started to feel more and more like I was being used or mistreated. And that happens when we don't set boundaries for ourselves. In effect, we're giving so much that it almost becomes past the point of depleting, but rather it prevents us from even being engaged at all in this experience, in this moment where we have an opportunity to have this very intimate relationship that we call caregiving. So I first like to say that you need to know yourself. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? I know people talk about that, but let's be real, okay? If we know up front that, for example, I am not good at cleaning things up that don't smell so very well. And I'm going to say that because, trust me, the caregivers in my circle, we talk about that a lot. And there are just some of us, we can't do it. It's important to know that that's a no and that I need to go for help. So maybe it's bringing in, maybe it's a paid carer that comes in to help with certain situations. Maybe it's simply asking other family members. That power of delegation is always a good thing to utilize. But as well, it might simply be that we need to look at those things that sometimes we have to overcome. And sometimes we do have to overcome things that we can't do. But you need to know yourself. What can you or can you not do? What can you or can you not fit right into who you are and what you can give of yourself? What are your limits? So So I like to start out by saying, what are the healthy phrases and healthy words that we can use when we are faced with a situation where we do want to say no or set a boundary? Well, first of all, no. Also, I'm really sorry, but I can't do that right now, is another wonderful way to say it politely. We can be very direct, but not be mean when we're doing so. How about, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree. Or I hear what you're saying, and not now. Let's talk about when we can do X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that you're being asked to do. Sometimes silence is a wonderful, wonderful thing. You know, people can ask and look around. Maybe it's several people in the room. I don't know if you've been in this family situation where it's, all right, who's going to do the grocery shopping? Who's going to go get all those medications refilled? And oh, by the way, who's going to do the house cleaning next week? You know, I'm one of those folks who would always raise my hand right away and say yes, because I was the eldest and I was the daughter. Well, sometimes being silent and letting other people rise to the occasion and the opportunity to say yes is a good strategy. So think about that as well. When I think about spiritually, the word no, I'm not necessarily seeing that as a negative. And the reason being is, if we think about Jesus and we think about the times where Jesus had to go and refill and refuel his tank, where he said, no, not now, to the people that were grabbing at his cloak, and went to the other side, went to the mountain on the other side, so that he could get what he needed, which was some rest, meant that he wasn't denying people a miracle. Rather, he was saying, not now. And not now and no are okay, because it means that we can be refilled with the Holy Spirit in our lives, to be able to be there to give. If we don't do that, then we won't have what it takes, quite honestly. So know your limits, know yourself, and don't be afraid to say no. I'm going to talk for just a second here now about some spiritual tools I use, especially when I have had those instances where I've said no and immediately I feel, a little bit of that, guilt or shame. I said no, am I a bad person? So some of the spiritual tools that I use are prayer and meditation, because I find that connecting with God helps me to realize that it's not all my shoulders, that upon all this rests, that I have God, I have Christ in my life, and they're there for me. The next is journaling. So I journal quite a bit, and I do that as an outlet. I also do that as a way for me to look back at those times where perhaps I felt a particular emotion and I wanted to go back and see, well, what did I say about that? Because I'm finding myself in the very same situation again. Another is nature. Depending on the time of year, even if it's cold out, I still like to go out and take a walk. Something helps me as I reconnect with nature. It reminds me of my connection with God. It reminds me of those things that say, it's okay. You are part of something bigger. It's not just you and this person that you're caring for, that you have to say yes to every single thing. The last tool that I use is music. And I use music because it honestly, when I can't find the words for myself, it provides them. And it means I don't have to do any work, and I can just quietly take that in and soothe and calm my soul. What I'd like to close with is what I refer to as my weapon, and it's my rosary. This is a spiritual tool that's been given to us that, for me, provides me probably one of the deepest sense of not only calm, but courage. Because as we go through the meditations and reflection of the rosary, it actually heals those parts of me that feels bad about the times I've said no. So I'm going to invite you now, if you wouldn't mind, to close your eyes, and I'm going to share with you something from my journal, actually. And I've gotten here a little comment that the rosary is one of our most powerful spiritual tools, and that when we have it in our hand, it's a reminder of our trust in God, and that we can bear all things through the rosary, through prayer. I'd like to close with something that Pope Francis gave us in November of 2013. as he was talking about the Rosary. He said, "I now want to suggest a medicine. It can be used once a day, but in case of an emergency, it can be taken as much as the soul needs. The dose is the same for adults and children. Don't forget to take your medicine and pray the Rosary, because it is good for the heart, the soul, and the whole life." A lot of wisdom there, and I can testify to the fact that it does work. So thank you again for joining us today, and I pray that you too will be able to introduce the word no into your vocabulary with calm and peace and comfort. Thank you.